Hello, everybody. I think we're live. Let's see here.
Do I have to do something on? Should I be doing something on Facebook to tell people that I'm here?
You certainly can. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and I just pulled it up. We are live on Facebook now.
oh,
So
nice.
hello,
Okay.
Facebook. Yeah. Um, Thanks for joining us. I'd love to be saying welcome to the Spotlight Theater, as I usually do. But welcome to my basement office. We are
Welcome to my basement office
in
too.
Austin's basement office. We are so excited for this new series of live Q&As that we have coming up here. We have quite a few people lined up now that we're really excited about, but we are super excited to be starting this whole series with the one and only Austin Tichenor of the Reduced Shakespeare Company, actor, performer, writer, director, playwright, podcaster, husband, father.
Raconteur, man about town, gadabout, rogue,
Yeah.
villain,
Yep.
Anglophile, as you can tell by my tea mug.
Yes. Very, very scary there. So we are going to be taking any kind of live questions on Facebook and pop up. But in the meantime, how are you doing? I know you're in Chicago. What's the city of Chicago like now?
Well, I'm in the northern burbs where it's fairly quiet. I haven't gone into the city. I guess we started self-quarantining a week ago Saturday, but that got the quarantine clock got reset to 0 when our daughter came home from college. Sunday night. So God knows. I see that the roads are empty pretty much. People are staying mostly indoors or staying far away from each other when they're out. We're trying to order as much takeout as we can to help support the restaurants that are trying to stay open or only offer delivery and takeout.
Yeah. So that's a big thing here too. A lot of people ordering takeout and curbside pickup and that just to help the local restaurants.
We needed dry cat food yesterday, and I walked up and I went, oh no, it's closed. Oh wait, curbside delivery. So she brought it out and put it in the back of my car, and I waved my phone at her, electronic thing, gizmo, and paid for it and was off. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a brave new world, and hopefully it's a brave new temporary world.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a bummer, but it's a bummer for you guys. I mean, we've canceled 5 performances in 4 in 4 cities, 2 in Reston, 1 at Washington Jefferson College in Pennsylvania, 1 in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and 1 at Batavia, Illinois, the Fermi Lab. We're rescheduling all of them to 2021, but the Reston performance will be in July. Fingers crossed, unless this thing gets worse.
Well, yeah, that's our current show. Well, it was set for April 17th was the opening, but I mean, with not being able to rehearse, that just almost makes it impossible. But our next show then would be June, and that's even now we're like, oh gosh, I hope we can make it to that. It's just so everything's unknown right now. That's the most kind of frustrating and scary part about it.
Right, because there's no plan, because the people who would put together a plan were fired 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't have to go there. And we're supposed to be at the Hartford stage doing the complete history of comedy abridged from June 11th to June 21st. And fingers crossed, that's going to still happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess on the upside, you guys don't have the whole rehearsal process leading up to that to worry about. So that's good.
And we don't have a large overhead in terms of staff.
Right.
So this and the good news, bad news is we didn't have that many gigs this spring to cancel anyway. So, but that's a different issue. What's exciting though is that the winter spring of a year from now is looking great.
Yeah, really.
If we could just survive till then.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think the last time I saw you guys, I think was I think was in Reston for the extravaganza.
That's right. That's right.
And
That was really fun.
yeah.
Reston, I mean, if anybody's listening who doesn't know this, the Reston Center stage at the Reston Community Center in Reston, Virginia, is just outside DC. It's near Dulles Airport. And it has been a friend and a home to the Reduced Shakespeare Company since before I joined in 92 and since before Reed joined in 89.
Wow.
They've been booking the RSC since like 88 every year. And so 5 or 6 years ago, we were sitting around after a show at dinner, after a show with the rest of the people talking about, wouldn't it be fun to get we talk about all the actors in the Reduced Shakespeare Company that had come through the various shows in the various years. And we said, wouldn't it be fun if we could get them all together to do a show? And then light bulb went off. And we started going, we could call it an extravaganza. And we did 8 of the then 10 shows. We did 8 of the 10 shows over 2 long weekends. With an additional evening, much like what we're doing right now, of Q&A and bits and songs from the shows and bits we had cut from that didn't quite make the grade, and that was really fun. That was 2 weeks of really, really heavy. I understand that was the first time I understood what air traffic controllers go through, because the number.
Well, I remember seeing you guys backstage, because I mean, you and Reed performed the majority of the shows. Mm-hmm. I think there was only the one that you weren't in.
Maybe. I think there were 2, but go ahead. Which one were you in? Books? No, you were in Bible? No, you were in the Complete Works.
No, books.
Books.
I think it was books.
Okay.
Yeah. It was either it would have been books or Bible.
Okay.
One of those 2. But I remember seeing you guys backstage, and it was just I mean, you guys backstage were like, I could tell you were exhausted and the brain was on overload, because it shows, I mean, you guys hadn't done in years.
A couple of them we hadn't done in a very, very long time. And and I did not do the Bible show. So it was you and Michael Faulkner and and Mick Orff, maybe?
It was Bible. It was Bible, yeah. Because I'm just remembering that I have a picture of the 3 of us backstage in costume.
Okay.
It was Bible.
And I know that because we did the Bible like 2 years ago, and none of us had done it at the extravaganza. So some of us hadn't done it in 8 or 9 years, and that was really oh no. And you realized as you learned as we redid the lines from each show, you go, oh, I used this setup in about 3 different shows, and a version of this punchline in like 3 different shows. Oh well, learning a lot about myself.
Hey, if it works, don't break it.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've done the Spotlight did all the great books, didn't you?
We did. That was actually our very first show. It was kind of a soft opening. So since then, we have not done a kind of a straight play.
Oh, I see.
It's all been big musicals since then. So, but we said, well, this will kind of be a nice, just kind of soft opening. And I mean, we thought, what better show to do?
Yeah. And
we had actually, myself and other friends did the Bible show at another theater here locally a couple years prior to that. And so one of the guys was out of town. He was touring with some show called Kinky Boots. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Whatever.
Yeah. So he was out of town. So I directed the Shakespeare show at one of the local colleges. So I grabbed one of the kids from there, one of the guys from the Bible show, and I said, we're doing the book show. And so it so happened, though, that show, I ended up playing the professor role, which is you.
My part.
And yeah. So that was different for me. But now it's so funny because that show now, I feel like I could do in my sleep probably every role. I feel like I've done it so many times. Just one of those shows where it's like, as soon as you get back into it, you're like, oh yeah, this is how it goes.
Right. And muscle memory takes over there. In the rehearsal hall, you can't remember how this goes, but in performance with all the adrenaline and the audience and the timing, you go, oh, of course, this is how it goes. It goes like this.
Right.
So, but because you performed that show, you performed that show in Belgium. That was the first time we hired you, right?
It was Holland first. We went all through Holland. Yep. And then a couple months after that, we went to Belgium. And then I want to say it was like two years after that, we took Hollywood to Holland and Belgium
Right.
at the same time. I mean, we went to Belgium and then went right to Holland from there.
Right.
Since we were right there.
And you worked with Noah Brody.
Noah Brody.
Noah Brody in that company. It's so great that so many of our Reduced Shakespeare Company alums are now moving on to run their own theaters. You're running Spotlight, and Noah's the co-artistic director of Fiasco Theater, which is on Broadway. I want to say taking the productions of Into the Woods and elsewhere.
Right. I remember the Into the Woods thing was a big deal for them. That in is it Cymbeline?
Cymbeline, yeah.
Or Cymbeline, yeah. That was a big hit for them too. I don't know currently what they're doing, but I know they've been doing really well. Him and his wife running that theater.
Cool.
Yeah. I have my first question.
Ooh,
online.
Exciting. I don't know. See, I'm so old. I don't know how to even look on Facebook on my phone to see where this is all happening.
Well, and this is my first time doing this. A big shout out to Greg Hipskin at the QC Rock Academy here in the Quad Cities for walking me through this whole thing.
Oh, cool.
He got me set up with how to do this today.
Thanks, Greg. Now, how do I find it on my phone?
If you go to the Spotlight Theater's Facebook page.
Yes.
And then our video should be on there right now.
Okay. I'm on my phone, so check in. I've checked in. Oh, that's not what it wants me to do. Doesn't matter. Let's
The first question comes from somebody we both know. Her name is Sarah Tubbs.
Oh, how is Sarah Tubbs?
She's good. She's upstairs baking right now.
The Lynn Fontanne to your Alfred Lunt. The two of you are the Lunt Fontanes of the Quad Cities. Powerful actor, entrepreneurs, directors, director managers, actor managers. Very impressive. What is young Sarah's question?
Her question is, what is your favorite Reduced Shakespeare show to perform?
To perform. Well, it's like asking, Sarah, it's like asking you, which one is your favorite child? Well, and I know the answer. It's obviously the prettiest, most talented one. Duh.
Yeah.
The one, a lot of them are fun for different reasons. Bible is really fun because it just moves. You get to that song at the end of Act 1, you go, oh my God, we're already all close to intermission. It just moves. I love all the great books, but Act 1 goes on a little long. The Christmas show, the Ultimate Christmas Show Abridged, is really fun. It's a really fun show because it's fun to perform, because unlike any of our other shows, the entire audience comes in wanting the same thing, and a funny show with a little heart, but also knowing exactly the same thing as everybody else knows about what we're talking about Christmas, because everybody knows Christmas. Even the Jews know about Christmas. Everybody, even the Jews and the Muslims know about Christmas. And then we cover all the winter holidays. And so we have Hanukkah and we have Ramadan, and we cover them respectfully but irreverently, and there's a touch of heart. And so you don't have to win people over. Everybody comes into the beginning of that show from the jump, knowing what they want for a holiday show. So it's a really fun show to do. I also love doing the two most recent shows, William Shakespeare's long lost first play, Abridged, and Hamlet's Big Adventure, a prequel, which are deconstructions of Shakespeare's complete works, and also the prequel to Hamlet, which answers all those important questions that you've come out of productions of Hamlet wondering, like, well, where is Ophelia's mother? What happened to her? Why does nobody even talk about her? Is Polonius her first name or her last name? His first name is the last. What was Yorick like? And so in Hamlet's Big Adventure, you get to see a young Hamlet. You'd be good for a young Hamlet, Brett Tubbs. You get to see a young Hamlet
all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Hamlet gets to deal with his father, who's alive, who's a practical joker, and he likes to leap out from behind plants in a sheet going boo, And Yorick the jester is alive and very funny, but kind of doesn't like his job. And Hamlet and Ophelia have this real kind of will they, won't they kind of. You see the possibilities of a real affection and love there. But then, spoiler alert, Ophelia's mother dies, but her ghost won't go away. And her mother was the patron of the local nunnery. And because she has died, the nunnery is about to close. So Hamlet, Ophelia, and Yorick are forced to put on a show to save the nunnery. So that was both things, favorite shows I love to perform, and plugs.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. So I guess my question, because I have yet to see these two shows.
That's right.
And there's a couple now, actually. I've not seen the comedy abridged.
Okay.
So with these two new shows now, would you say the structure of the show is similar to the other? Because it is kind of a formula for all of the abridged shows, I would say, that you follow. So would you say that it was that kind of formula as well?
Yeah.
Even though you're necessarily reducing a big subject.
Yes, and I know that you are using formula in the most respectful possible way.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, it's...
Yeah, they are, well, comedy and Long Lost Shakes are. It's the plots of all the reduced Shakespeare Company shows are the same. It's three idiots trying to reduce an impossibly large topic to 2 hours, and they don't know that it's impossible, so it's kind of charming to watch them do it. And that is
that's what I meant by formula. Is that, I guess, is it the same character archetypes that are in?
Well, it is the same character archetypes, and the archetypes are drawn from Commedia. So, Commedia or the Three Stooges, depending on how intelligent you want to sound. There's basically one guy who's the boss, who's the enforcer, the Mo, and that's typically Reed. There's one guy who's the smart guy, the professore, the Larry, I guess, the one with the funny hair, and then there's the fool, the Arlecchino, the idiot man-child, the savant, the wise fool. Typically, that's typically a Brent Tubbs role until he's stepping into my roles as the professor. And in both comedy and Long Lost Shakes, we took something massive, like it on all of our shows, and reduced them. Hamlet's Big Adventure, interestingly, does away with that formula completely. We don't have a framework. So all the other shows are, hi, I'm Reed, I'm Austin, I'm Brent, and we are the Reduced Shakespeare Company.
Right.
And we'll guide you through this. Like, it's like a vaudeville. But Hamlet's Big Adventure, a prequel, is just a play. It basically just starts as a play. And it's really fun. So it starts with wind and spooky ghosts, and you go, wait, am I watching Hamlet or Hamlet's Big Adventure? I mean, that's on purpose. And but it's just a play. And Reed and I had a conversation about that. He was going, well, is that going to seem weird to audiences who are used to the kinds of shows we do? But also, is it going to be weird for audiences going, don't we need to come out and explain why we are performing, like why this old guy is playing Ophelia? And I said, well, what other theater company or script apologizes for its cast?
Right.
It won't always be us. Also, I mean, particularly with the last two shows, the Hamlet's Big Adventure and Long Lost Shakes, we're very conscious of the fact that our shows get done by other theaters, like by you guys and by high schools and by and colleges and community groups and other professional theaters. And so we're aware that particularly in high schools and community venues, they want to get it. They want to be able to include as many people as they can. Yeah. And there's always that element in the script of, we don't have enough people. There's only 3 of us, whatever. And you kind of have to monkey with that a little bit. And we just said, well, what if we just don't do that? And so both of them, Long Lost Shakes, but even now Christmas, as I think about it, I mean, there are opportunities to include many more people than just the 3 of us. And Hamlet's Big Adventure, we don't even do away with the archetypes. So for instance, I, as the smart one, because I wear glasses, I play both the king, Hamlet's father, the king, and Ophelia. And that's not, those are not the same kinds of roles. And in fact, when we did the workshop out in California, a woman named Jessica Romero played my role. And she was Ophelia, and she was a way better, way more adorable Ophelia than me. And her king was, I think, I would argue, funnier than mine, because she was a more comic king, and I'm a more of a kind of a legitimately authoritative king,
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to say that actually leads. I got a question here, and it almost leads in perfectly to that what you're just saying. This is from Lily, and what are your thoughts about female and non-binary folks performing your show?
Love it. There's nothing. I mean, all the jokes, Reed and I write these plays so to make a living for ourselves, so that we can perform them and be booked around the country to perform them. Once they're out of our hands, they're widely open to interpretation. And so references to white guys or old white guys or three white guys can all be changed to whatever they need to be changed to. And the casting can be as diverse as you want to make it. Again, we were very conscious of that in both Hamlet's Big Adventure and William Shakespeare's Long Lost First Play, Abridged. We constructed it so in such a way that we considered Ariel a female character and Puck a male character. But that's not set in stone. And in fact, Shakespeare doesn't talk about Puck's gender at all. I think Ariel is defined in the text as male, but I don't care about that sort of stuff. And I'm not sure most people do anymore. I mean, no, that's not true. I do see pedants, sometimes on, like I write a monthly blog for the Folger Shakespeare Library, and I sometimes see the comments where the comments say, no, it's done this way, only this way. Like, if it were only done one way, Shakespeare wouldn't be still relevant 400 years ago.
Right.
I have no delusion that reduced Shakespeare Company scripts will be around in 400 years. But for the next 100 years or so, absolutely, you can. Anybody can and should perform our shows.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard.
That's a great question.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard too of groups. I know I've heard of groups that'll have specifically schools, like you said, where they're trying to get more people involved. That will have casts of 10 or 15 people do the show, and for me, I have a hard time wrapping my head. I'm like, how does that work? For me personally, I feel like a lot of the comedy comes from just there's three people that are trying to cover all of this.
Right. The limitations are comic. Yes. Agreed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There still needs to be urgency in the fact that it needs to be done in 2 hours. I mean, the other problem that many folks have when they do our scripts is they forget about the urgent need to get this done in 2 hours, and they go, "Oh, well, it'll all be funny," or they go, "Oh shit, this is sorry, very sorry to swear," or they
right.
or they think, "Oh my god, this is a comedy, so it needs to be funny every single moment," and it doesn't. It needs to be earnest and important every single moment, but let the laughs land where the laughs want to land. Reed has been teaching in the Bay Area in California, and he has last year he directed books, and I think right now I think he's doing it mostly online at a university in Stockton. He's done,
no kidding.
Yeah. He has been
University of Pacific. Yeah, we live there.
That's right. That's right. Well, he's teaching there, and right now he is working with his students to update and diversify the Completely Hollywood Abridged, because there's a lot of, I mean, Lily's question is spot on about, because he, like a year or two ago, he did all the great books at Santa Rosa Junior College with a diverse and fluid gender cast. And he said it was great. And he developed it for like 12 people. So we're trying to evolve the scripts, I guess, adapt the scripts in such a way so that it's easier for companies to kind of adapt it to their own personnel. And particularly in a show like Hollywood, the movies are 15-year-old references, so they're updating the references. But also, there's some comedy. There's some kinds of jokes in there that don't land as well anymore as they used to, so you have to find new, better jokes. I really don't. I'm sick of comedians going, "Well, you can't tell. I can't tell my jokes." You know what? You just got to tell better jokes. That's all.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because we had not an issue, but just the question had come up during the book show. There's during Don Quixote of somebody questioning it, like, do you think that this would offend people with the kind of over exaggeration of the accent and that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think so.
Yeah, right. I don't know what kind. What do I think? I don't care. Well, I think they addressed this in the in Reed's production, because again, he had a larger cast, so he had different translators, and his translators, I think, were native Spanish speakers. So they were able to throw in both real and better digs at how bad this translation was. So that was really fun. I mean, not every theater has a native Spanish speaking cast available to them, but when you do, there's so much greater opportunity for comedy, which is what I love about that.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that I think is really cool, that you probably could speak more to, that when you guys go on the road and do a show, you're in that position where you can do those rewrites like that. Can you talk a little bit how much that happens on the road, if you guys are ever in that situation ever comes up and you say, well, let's see if we can rework this?
Yeah. I mean, you've been on the road with us, as you know. When we get to some place, we like to show up as close to curtain as we possibly can, because we're just lazy. But we also ask the local crew for what's going on in your town. What's the local other town that we make fun of? What's the scandal? What's the politician that's gotten into trouble? Or what's everybody talking about? So we try to get those kind of jokes into the show. But there have been times where we have to kind of rewrite on the fly. Well, for instance, that time we did the Bible show 2 years ago up in Maine, we hadn't done it in 9 or 10 years, and one trunk didn't arrive. One trunk got lost in the shipment, and it was the trunk, fortunately, for what was it? Oh, it was the trunk that had the dummy in it and the Last Supper backdrop.
Oh,
so
nice.
The Last Supper backdrop, it's a recreation of the Last Supper painting by Da Vinci. Yeah. Michelangelo? I don't know. I should really know my Renaissance painters. In any event, it has all the saints next to Jesus at the table have holes for faces come out. And one person is supposed to go from hole to hole to hole to hole to hole to hole. Usually you, Brent, doing all the saints. Well, there's no bit without that drop. So we just cut it. And fortunately, that second act of Bible is so sort of modal, you can cut things. But we also had to figure out a dummy, created a dummy from pillow cushions from the back. Speaking of dummies, one of the other times we went to a venue. We were doing the sports show at a venue where recently one of the students, I want to say, or somebody recently had committed suicide by jumping off a high place. And like within the week or something like that. And so, and we, of course we have a moment in the sports show where a dummy falls down from the flies from the theater to the stage floor. Because that's a bit. It's a diving, Olympic diving bit where the dummy just hits the floor. Well, you're not going to do that. That's the definition of #too soon.
Right.
So these are kinds of the kinds of, they're small rewrites, the kinds of things we have to do, adjustments that we have to make do on the road. But for instance, the complete History of America abridged We were going to do a major sort of rewrite of that, an update of it, to tour this fall, but we had a summer gig that was going to happen, and now it's not going to happen. So I'm not exactly sure what our timeline is going to be for that. But the complete history of America, they keep writing American history, so we keep having to reduce it. So we have to keep coming up with new, more recent material to keep that one alive. And also, that show has some jokes that you kind of are hard to tell these days. So that's due for a sort of a kind of a major upgrade, that script.
Yeah. Well, the Lincoln joke is always cracked, because the audience was either going to go, oh, or they're hysterically, and 50-50 most of the time.
Well, and that's another example of people look at our joke about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and they go, too soon.
Yeah.
It's been 160 years.
Yeah. Still fresh.
To the wound is still fresh.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions here I want to get to. But this is from the Matthew Croak.
Matthew Croak?
Yes. He says, you both have high stakes in live theater. What does the industry look like in 6 months? What are you hearing?
That's a far more serious question than I wanted from young Matt Croak. Matt Croak, for the other 5 people watching this who don't know, Matt Croak was Adam Long's first replacement in the reduced Shakespeare company. Adam Long, one of the founding members. Matt Croak joined us for when we did the complete works, William Shakespeare abridged. He was on the first one of the early tours of the complete history of America abridged. He actually did the very first workshop and tours of the Bible, and workshopped and wrote all the great books abridged with us. And so he's been around for a good long while. Yeah, you know what? I don't know what it looks like in 6 months. It depends on how this thing plays out in the summer. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2 months. Hopefully, we're all back to normal in 2 months. I have been talking to a handful of artistic directors who had to cancel shows, like you have had to cancel shows. And they're thinking of how do they fit the show they were going to do into next season,
right,
or a future season. It feels like 2021 seasons or 21-22 seasons are going to be the lost seasons. All the shows we had to do. I said earlier, Matt Croak, maybe before you joined us, that next spring, a year from now, is looking kind of strong because our shows from this spring have been moved into next spring, which already had some good dates. What do you think, Brent? You're the one actually running a real theater.
Well, I mean, you kind of said it. Yeah, if we do end up canceling the show, which looks like we probably will have to, we're planning on moving that just to next year, almost similar dates. And what's really been great, though, is the all the rights holders for all these shows are just getting pummeled. The woman that we deal with through MTI the other day.
Oh, right.
And she said, before all this happened, I was starting to feel good and caught up with my inbox being at 700 emails. She said, now it's up over 1,400. And it's just people, with, can we postpone this? Can we move these dates? Can you change the dates for that and all that stuff? And for the most part, they've all been really accommodating. Because rights aren't cheap. For us, that is one of our biggest expenses, is just paying for the rights for especially the bigger musicals that you do. But they've been really good at. We're able to kind of move payments for certain things and apply it to other shows and that sort of stuff. So that's been a huge help, because to not even have a show, but then still having to pay for it as if you've had it. Yeah, that would be detrimental. But I think she even said everybody's in the same boat. They don't know where they're at. And like I said earlier, we're just praying that everything kind of clears up before June.
Right.
Because if it doesn't, then that opens a whole new box of concerns and issues of how do you have an event center but not have events?
Well, we were talking before that I was on a virtual happy hour the other night,
Yeah.
And I need to do more of them because that was kind of a virtual unhappy hour because we were just talking about how horrible this all is. And I can do that by myself. I don't need help with that, particularly with alcohol. But you know, some people, a couple of folks were complaining that, oh my God, I'm not getting anything done. I'm not getting anything done. And somebody said this perfectly on Twitter, and I'm going to bastardize it now, but I retweeted it because it was perfect. It was like, if you are staying home and preventing further spread of this thing, you are being productive.
Right.
Know? Yeah. You are doing what needs to be done. And I think that the more we stay home, the more we, fight this thing, the more we work together, the more we work together by staying apart, the faster this thing will pass.
Right.
And I don't know. All I can do is keep my fingers crossed that the people who are too stupid to do this don't infect too many other people.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's like I said, I told you earlier too. We've pretty much been on lockdown for the last 2 weeks. We went out once to kind of get some essentials, but I ran down to the theater yesterday just to kind of check on things and grab a few things. And it was surprising to me how many people were out and about.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily even just kind of walking, but going into places and, it's just a crazy thought to think everything can shut down like that. And but like you said, it's what we need to do to stop it.
It is. It's and of course, every time it's like when I read Stephen King's The Stand, every time I have a sniffle, I'll go, oh my God, I've got it.
I know. And even just going out yesterday for a little bit, it's like you're surprised at how much you want to touch your face. You're like,
well, yeah, and I did. You don't think about the unexpected victims of the thing. What are philosophers going to do? People who do this all the time.
Yeah.
So, think of them. Somebody emailed us, said, can you reduce the COVID-19 virus? We need to laugh. And talk about too soon. It seems like we're still too close to be funny about it, but also, I mean, one other thing that we are doing, I mean, I love what you're doing having this little Q&A for the people who want to participate and be part of an online community. It's great that there are folks talking. And the other thing that we're doing is that I've put a link up on our website, reducedshakespeare.com, which I noticed there was a banner crawling, and there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So organized. At reducedshakespeare.com, I put up a specific page in the news section. We've started calling ourselves the RSC, the Remote Shakespeare Company. And I'm putting a page up that has links and embedded videos of a lot of the different stuff we've done over the years. So we reduced Wagner's Ring Cycle, 17 hours of opera to a brief and palatable 23 minutes. We reduced the first 5 seasons of the TV show Lost to 10 minutes. That's on there, including an introduction from the show's creators, Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse. I sang my song, I Laughed Till I Cried, from the comedy show. That's there. I also did, I recited the first draft version of William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18. You can hear that. It begins, it's a clumsy first draft. You can see why he wanted to change it, because it begins, shall I compare thee to a dog's dinner? And it goes on from there. But so anyway, reducedshakespeare.com, we've got a lot of content. Plus, I've been doing this, as you mentioned, I've been doing a podcast since December of 2006. So over 13 years ago.
I was going to ask you about that too, because have you missed? It's a weekly podcast that you produce and host as well. Have you missed a single week of that?
I only missed 1 week because my laptop went down and it needed to get repaired. So it came out, that Monday's podcast came out, I think, on the Thursday or whatever, or I put up 2 the following week. So I've still been, I've still caught up. I am now, let's see, this week's episode is 693. I've been doing it for 693 weeks. It's really fun. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, no kidding. I actually had it on the other day, and our oldest son, Parker, came into the room, and he was listening to it for a few minutes. And
I was like, hey, you got a shout out on this.
That's right.
Right after you were born. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, let me try and find it. And I just got lost. I'm like, I have no idea where this would be.
Yeah, we should scroll. Did you search? You should search for Parker Tubbs. I thought we mentioned him in the blurb for it.
Yeah. Well, in the written.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll search for it. I don't know that I searched for it. I think I was just scrolling through all of them.
Search for Parker's name, because I think I wrote it up in the blurb, and if I didn't, I will fix that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's been really. The podcast started as kind of a, and again, it was Matthew Croak who urged me, inspired me, challenged me, put a gun to my head, and said, "You've got to do this." And once I figured out, it's something that I can do remotely. I can do wherever we are. I record on this iPod.
Oh my gosh!
I know, it's an original. I've been using the same iPod since 2006, and I use this Belkin Tune Talk microphone, and it clicks. And it's a great microphone because it really takes. I can record anywhere, in a bar, in a coffee shop, on a plane, and it puts the voices right up front, and it puts the noise in the background to the back, and it really sounds surprisingly good. And we talk about, it started as a DVD bonus feature. It's like, oh well, here's a skit, or here's some funny conversation about whatever. But then it became, I think, my first non-RSC interview was with David Koechner, the Second City alum and actor and improviser from Second City, who's been in Anchorman and a bunch of other things, The Office. Anyway, because then I began to think, wait a second, I got a ton of really successful friends that I can interview about how they do what they do. And so it's become more of it's sort of my weekly college lecture. That's not a lecture. It's more like a Q&A conversation where I talk to interesting people in the theater and the arts about what they do and how they do it. So I've talked to like Brian Dennehy, the great Tony winning actor, Brian Dennehy, from Brian Dennehy to Weird Al Yankovic, and everybody in between, novelists like Chris Moore and Jasper Ford and Nicole Galland. And, it's just been it's fun. It's great for me because it gets me out of the house and I get to have fun conversations with folks.
Well, and that's kind of how the birth of this whole thing started, was with, like I said, with the QC Rock Academy, right. Interviewed the drummer for, I think it was Brad Paisley, something like that. But I was watching it and I'm like, man, this is really cool. And then I started thinking, I'm like, hey, I know people. I can call them up. I can get them here. Yeah.
I see tomorrow. Do I see tomorrow? You've got Hal Lublin.
Yep, Hal Lublin's on tomorrow.
Please send all my Lublin to Hal. All my Lublin.
And I just saw it, so I listened to that. We Got This, and then noticed that you were on there for picking the best Shakespeare play.
That was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, those guys are so much fun.
It went on way too long. I did it, but I abridged it. I reduced it for an episode of my podcast. Just taking the highlights, but there's still a lot of gold that I cut. Hal is one of my former students.
Really?
Yeah. He, I for a very brief period, David Rosowski, who we both know, hired me to teach sketch writing at Second City Hollywood. And and Hal was in my class, and clearly one of the only 2 or 3 people who really should be doing this. Because I said to Rosowski, I said, he said, there's like 10 people in this class, 5 of them easily need to be told to just get out, to just never even think about writing comedy again. And he said, let me explain how the economics of this place works. They pay us and we teach them. Right. Got it. All right. But Hal was not one of those. Hal was easily like, oh my God, this guy's great.
That is hilarious. Yeah, well, that would have been, I can't believe I never realized that before, because that would have been probably right around the same time that I was there.
Well, Hal doesn't brag about it as much as he should.
True. I think that. Yeah. Let's see. Well, it's 11:46. I got one. I think I found one more question on here that I want to make sure we get to.
Okay.
This question comes from Adam.
Yes, I know all right, I know the question already. Yes, yeah. I am wearing pants.
I know. I contemplated just having pajama bottoms on. This is like the first time I've showered and dressed, and who knows how long. So, his question is: what advice would you give a freshman acting class about surviving the industry?
Pick another industry. Do something else. And that's semi-serious suggestion. We spent our kids, our daughter's a sophomore in college now, and our son graduated, so he's out. And we spent their whole lives telling them not to go into the business, but we were in the business, showing them that it could be done.
Yeah,
you could succeed in this business. So our son was in the a cappella group in college and on the college improv team. Our daughter is on the improv team and also the director of their of the student group that puts on exclusively new plays, like 2 or 3 or 4 of them every term.
Wow.
And she's the president of this group now. So she's a theater major. And so she said, "Yeah, screw you, Dad. I'm going to do this." And she's just fierce and competitive enough that it might work. Actually, she might do very well. Yeah. But we always tell people going into college, get out. And if we can convince, what's the guy's name? Adam.
Yeah.
Adam. If we can convince you to get out, then you should get out. If you say, "Screw you, old man, I'm going to do this," then that's the right attitude. That's the only attitude you can have to kind of succeed, because there's no one way of succeeding.
Right.
Surround yourself with good people. Don't be a dick. And that's true for any industry. Don't be a dick. Be somebody that somebody wants to work with. Become talented and invaluable so people want you around. In any capacity. Be multifaceted. Play a musical instrument if you want to be an actor. Know how to sing and dance. Be well-read. Don't, try to double major. Try to major in something else while still, majoring in theater or still doing plays. I would argue don't get a BFA, because most BFAs are like industrial workshop classes. They only train you for the one thing. There are BFAs that are more varied and allow you to diversify your portfolio, if I can use that expression, where they allow you to write and direct. My nephew got a BFA from Chapman. Isn't that where Sarah went? Didn't Sarah go to Chapman?
No, she went to Fullerton.
Okay, sorry. But the BFA at Chapman is apparently quite good and allows you to really diversify, where you learn to write and direct and edit and do stuff on film as well as doing plays. But a BA gives you just more opportunity. Just, the best actors that I know are also the smartest actors. They're well read. They're interested in current events. They bring passion for other things to their craft. And if you're an improviser, Brent, this, you play to the top of your intelligence, and the more you know, the better the improviser you can be. Yeah. And also it's a good as reason to go to college as any, which is the more you know, the more there is to laugh at.
Yeah.
The more jokes you will get.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think you hit it too, that it's not, there's no one way to do it. We both lived short time or not short time, but I saw people that I knew in college in Fresno that had no interest in theater. They came down to LA. Within 4 months, they were on their first feature. Wow. I had been there for 4 years just trying to get an agent. So there's no real clear, this is how you do it. This is how you get into the business. It's just every case is different.
If you're shockingly beautiful, Adam, go to LA. Maybe you can get, maybe we'll take a look at you and then be very happy that you happen to be talented as well. I was in LA for 15 years and then the business changed. And I was playing a lot of doctors and lawyers on TV. And I got to that awkward age where I was too old to play a lawyer, but too young to play a judge. So it was time to move back to Chicago, where my wife had been a writer and a performer at Second City. And we love Chicago. I mean, that's more good advice if you want to get into theater. If you've got your degree and you want to act, Chicago's a great place to go. when it's not shut down because of a virus. Because not only can you find a tribe, find a community of actors, you can find audiences. Audiences in Chicago will go to storefront theaters because you can't learn to act by doing it in a classroom or your bedroom. You've got to be working with other people and putting shows up in front of an audience. That's how you learn. Really, that's how you get experience. And you need that audience. And audiences is sometimes hard to come by, but Chicago, you can get an audience.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like in the throbbing metroplex of the Quad Cities.
You know, it's actually when we opened up, we counted because our first thought was, does the Quad Cities need another theater? And we are actually the 9th theater to open up here in the Quad Cities. It's a lot of theater options here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Everything from, bigger, we have a professional theater downtown Rock Island, and to smaller black box theaters that do original works. That there's a couple original playwrights in the area, and they've put on their own shows and really good stuff too. So
and that's another great alternative for people. Go to the Quad Cities, stay in your own town, put up shows, and then when you feel like you've got enough experience, then go to. If you want to make your living at it, then go to LA or Chicago or New York or Seattle or at places that have professional theaters, or start your own professional theater. That's a whole other Q&A.
Yes. Join us next month for that one.
When most of us are getting out.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to Matt Croak's question too. Some theaters might not survive this.
Absolutely.
And that's a scary thought. And then what will rise in the ashes of that,
Right.
It's we're laughing and joking, but it's tough for a lot of folks. You and I are very lucky. We've got homes we can shelter in.
Right.
A lot of people don't. They're in dorms or they're in other situations, and so knock wood, we're kind of lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. It's a scary situation to be in for sure.
Any other questions? I never did figure out how to watch this on Facebook myself. I
don't think so.
Any impertinent comments? Any questions you skipped over?
Assuming this is in reference to hopefully the comment to Adam. Hopefully he's very good looking. He said, "Well, I don't like to brag."
Good. Yeah. It's that sort of self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's that fine line between self-confidence and being an asshole.
Yeah, I'm not sure which of the line I fall on in there.
You're not an asshole, Brent Tubbs. I remember you told us about some person you didn't enjoy working with, and I thought, oh my God, if Brent Tubbs doesn't get along with this person, that's not a good sign, because you get along with everybody.
I try to. That was a test for sure.
That was, the test that nobody should be forced to.
Yeah.
Put themselves to.
Well, all right. I don't want to take your time anymore. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Happy to do it. And now I know how StreamYard works. This is fun.
Yeah, isn't this cool? Super easy.
You can't see my cat that just ran up the spiral staircase, and this is perfect because I do need another cup of tea.
Perfect timing then.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
It was so great catching up and seeing you live, not in person, but
as in person as we can be for the moment. Yeah, sending virtual hugs.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Well, cool. Thanks to everybody that's been watching.
We enjoyed talking to both of you.
Yes. Yeah, we loved seeing both your comments. So yeah, feel free to share this. The video should be shareable here in a minute.
Awesome.
So, all right. Thank you so much.
You bet, Brett. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye.